Hello everyone, can you see me? Can you hear me? We have something really exciting today, and that is editing some work from my archives, 2017 archives when I first started self-portraiture. It's actually kind of crazy to see the transformation in not only my photography but my editing. And yeah, it's going to be a really exciting edit today. I actually already edited it last night because I was just so excited to see the possibilities. And I really like what I did last night, but I am really excited to try a whole nother direction in the live today. I actually just recently posted this photo on my Instagram, and I'll go ahead and start sharing my screen so you can see that. I just shared this third one right here on my Instagram this morning and asked people what color I should change the flowers to in this live edit, and the most people said blue. So great news, because blue is very close to purple, and it's gonna be a really easy edit. I'm really glad nobody said, like, I don't know, white or black or something, because actually I'm not really sure how to turn them white. I'm definitely still learning, and I also just wanted to say that as a almost disclaimer too. I'm going to be running through my entire process, how exactly as I would edit it, and it's very archaic sometimes, and it's definitely like a fine art approach. If you're looking for super technical advice on color replacement and this kind of thing, there are a number of great tutorials out there. I am definitely still learning, so if you are learning too, then join me, and let's get started. So right here up, I have my Capture One screen. Right here is the raw file. It is this crazy blue wig that I am going to definitely tone down in this edit. And I got gifted all of these crazy orchids from an event when I used to shoot events. When that was a thing. So in 2017 I took this and I edited it to this style, and I'm gonna zoom in so you guys can see the difference between my retouching from 2017 to 2021, because it's kind of crazy. So if you shift and hold this zoom, you can also zoom in on all three at the same time. It's kind of really handy. Look at this. Isn't this crazy? So apparently in 2017 I thought it was okay to just get rid of all detail in a face, and and in 2021, I'm realizing that details are actually good to have. So this is what we'll be working with, this raw photo, and probably getting somewhere around here, but more blue toned. And yeah, that's it. I'm already seeing some comments roll in. It looks like we have a lot of friends here. Hello, hello. We have an Andrea, Sebastian, Justin, Matthew, Brittany, Nate. Oh my gosh, Jim, hello, hello, and new friends too. If you guys have any questions or just want to keep talking, this is a really good community in the comments right now. So if you guys don't know each other, you should. With all that being said, I think I'm going to go ahead and get started, because this is going to be probably an hour, if not a little bit more, because there's a lot going on in this particular edit. So let me know if you can hear me, if you can see me, if there's any issues or lags, anything like that, and let's get started. So first thing I'm going to do is make a clone variant of this raw photo, because I want to keep this guy, you know, just in case. I'm also just going to do a little cheat here and see the things that I did. Oh, there's quite a lot. Okay, so I believe one of the first things I did was skin. It's usually everything I do is like a skin smoothing. So we'll go over here to our color tools, up here, color editor, skin tone. Just want to zoom in a little bit. Eyedropper tool, pick up a good skin tone, and bring up these uniformity sliders. I know in previous lives I've gone through really in-depth how I am editing and exactly what I'm doing, and for those of you that have definitely been here for the fourth time, I hope to spare you some of the repetitiveness. So I'll definitely keep that in mind. But today we're also using a whole bunch of different tools and color replacement, so it's going to be really exciting. I've learned so many different ways to make details pop, and edit with color, so it's gonna be really exciting. So let's rename this guy Skin. And the next one, I think I'm already going to change the color of my hair because it's so jarring and it just kind of drives me insane. So here we go. Have a hair tool. Again, in that color editor, we're gonna go to advanced and pick the eyedropper. This is where Capture One is the absolute best, and I mean this honestly, like this type of color transformation is really difficult for me actually in Photoshop, but in Capture One it's as easy as telling it this color. It has that that hue right here, and then you have all these sliders to change that. So this is what it was and this is what it's going to be, or what it's going to change that color to. So if we take that hue and drag it, you'll see that it'll start getting more, well, it'll just start to change a little bit. So it looks like right here, it's giving us a more teal color, and this one's like a more blue. And we're toning everything blue today, but I'm also gonna try for a little bit more saturation, because in my final edit, the hair lost a lot of that. So we're gonna bring it down just ever so slightly. And if you bring up the smoothness, it's just going to make sure that it's affecting more similar color pixels. So that's always cool. Let's see. And you can also just do this again. So now that we've changed this color to this color, we can take that eyedropper again as many times as we want. It'll just keep populating these colors and then just keep changing. So this is how, you know, you can tone something. Purple. Purple's my favorite, so I'm gonna try to, but I already did my purple edit, so you know, I'll be good. I'll stick to blue. So there's that. Actually, it's really subtle, but the color blue from before was just a little bit too teal and saturated for me. So let's go ahead and do another filled layer. And I think I'm also going to start working on the flowers too. So let's do that. Name this one Flowers, our color editor Advanced, and get that magenta. Wow, that's fun. Okay, so now we're in Purple Land. Wow, okay, there's that. We're gonna get that eyedropper tool again, and bring that hue. Okay. Not bad. Uh-oh, I see Emily laughing in the comments. What's going on now? Oh, it's Matt's birthday! What? Happy birthday! Oh no, we're talking Lofi. I have to say right before I started, Emily has always been like, I don't like Lofi, la la la. And then she's like, I like these jams. I was like, this girl. Sitting 2 feet away from me, ignoring me. You have to get real close if you're trying to scooch in this video.
How's the teaching going here?
You're not in it. Teaching's going well, you know.
We're doing good, huh?
You can't take her anywhere. Anyways, okay, so here we are. We're basically at a really great place already, just with a few Capture One adjustments. I'm zooming in a little bit because I know when I edited this photo, the color started to bleed in a little bit on my face, and that's because there is a blue shadow that's being cast from that wig. And I just want to make sure that I need to, if I need to mask anything, like around the skin areas, that I do it right now, because once I bring this into Photoshop, that color is going to be there. But honestly, it looks to me that the color is just affecting the areas I wanted it to be. So that's some great news. Maybe I'll quickly just do a before and after slider here. That's kind of insane. No? Yeah, I think that's crazy. Okay, cool beans. Where are we now? I think just a little bit of an exposure adjustment probably. This is back when I just thought, you know, make it really bright, get rid of all texture on face, make light super flat. You know, which worked for me for a while, but now we're going to upgrade this edit. So let's bring my midtones down a little bit overall. And also, I think I'm going to do that one more time and just add a little bit of clarity. A little bit of clarity and structure. Lately, I've been not so concerned with what this does to skin. Sometimes if you bring up a lot of clarity in a portrait, it just looks really crunchy like that, which is not exactly great. But what you do want is to really control where your sharpness, where the most sharp things are in your image. And right now, I kind of want the flowers and me to be all in focus. There's really nothing I don't want to not be in super tack focus, except for maybe this bedspread back here, which is going to be a really fun Photoshop tutorial on how I extend that. Speaking of, I think we're ready for Photoshop. Actually, I'm just going to bring down this overall opacity that I did here, and let's go. I'm going to right click, edit with Photoshop 2021, and here we go. Well, okay, fine. Let me know if it's better now. Who texted? Nate? Nate, I see you. Yeah, let me know if it's actually too loud. I can bring down, I think, everything here. Oh, we have a Kelly in the chat. Hello, Kelly. Hello, Andy. Okay, so we are in Photoshop. The first thing I'm gonna do is make this thing a square. I do this for everything. By the way, if you are like me and you adjust the crop of your images, make the canvas larger or smaller or anything like that, keep in mind that you have a couple different options with that crop tool. I love Photoshop's crop tool in a way that I really don't like Capture One's. But you have all these different options, even the spiral. As you're cropping, you can use all these different things as guides to help you make sure that you have an image that is like either perfectly symmetrical or whatever it is that you're going for. So I really like the grid because, especially in this image, so I can make sure that everything is a very like symmetrical, almost doll-like image. And also I can toggle to the rule of thirds to see if this line is going to hit somewhere that I want it. Typically you want to keep it like in an eye line or a lip line, but actually I think that the nose line for this particular image works well. So I'm gonna hit OK. And now we're gonna fill in this background. I do work on the background layer for this, and I know that I'm gonna get some heat, but then I'll make an adjustment layer up top to make some adjustment there. So magic wand, selected those two empty areas, and edit fill content aware. This tool is so smart, especially in the later versions of Photoshop. I think when I edited this last night, it was just did everything for me, so that's cool. I just am looking at the comments now. I see one from Kelly, and I think I can add it to the broadcast. If you have time, can you talk briefly about why you prefer Capture One than, let's say, Lightroom or another program? It's a great question. I love Capture One because of that color tool mostly, well also because it's just a really sophisticated program. It's kind of like Lightroom and Photoshop had a child. Very, very powerful, super quick. To me, Lightroom now feels like, it almost feels like too simplified, maybe, it's also like what I grew up with, so it's hard to talk bad about Lightroom. I really do like Lightroom. It's a very sophisticated program, but for me, Capture One has a lot more options. It has layers. the color changing tools that I just demonstrated in this photo, to me, is just a clear reason why I would always use Capture One. I never open Lightroom anymore. It's kind of sad, but that's a great question. Thanks, Kelly. If you guys have more questions, let me know. Okay, where are we? Oh yes, so we just did this thing. We see how it is kind of messed up a little bit. I'm gonna create a new layer on top and start zooming in and fixing this bedspread. Ooh, okay, here we go. How I'm gonna do this is get that clone stamp, make sure that my flow is somewhere, I don't know, maybe 50% or so. What I'm wanting is like a clean line, more or less, a bumpy clean line, you know? So I'm gonna sample this little bump and try to get it to repeat over here. And you see how Photoshop kind of previews it for you? This is very key, key for me. You don't want to start seeing the flowers because then it's going to stamp that faint flower pattern and then you'll have to go in and fix that. No, make your brush smaller and try to retain as much information as possible, making it believable, and slowly just paint that in. That's already not too bad. Something you can do is just to even out this background tone. You see how it has this glow right here and then it goes dark. This is also a pet peeve of mine, so let's try to smooth that out a little bit. More text? Wow. Okay, this is actually my fault because I had every intention to test the audio today and then I didn't. So, you know, that's how it works. Okay. Okay, let's do the other side now. I'm gonna grab this guy. And you see how this comforter goes up and down and then it goes back up. So this is actually a perfect way to go back down. Also, what happened here? We have some vertical lines that we're gonna have to fix. I wonder if it is yep, looks like I did something. When sometimes Photoshop content aware fill just doesn't do it, you know? So you gotta go in and fix those lines. Very, very faint. But I noticed. Okay, let's see. All right, so even though this is gonna go up like a crazy thing right now, I know in Liquify I can bring that comforter back down and fix this line that's going through here. And that is pretty much okay with me. I can sit here and finesse over this for hours probably, but not going to. I think you get the gist. So I'm gonna Command Option Shift E, creates a stamp visible, and I'm about to do something that's gonna blow everybody's mind and just delete those, lock this layer, because this is my new background master. Nothing is changed except for adding in those two sides. And now I can kind of edit as I would anything else. I'm gonna start with frequency separation. It's definitely my preferred way of editing skin. Oh no, I did a thing. Why are you like this? Sometimes my action just doesn't like to work, so I have to save and bring it back. And that's what we're gonna have to do, it looks like. So over here in Capture, here's my edit. Heather joined us, hello! Let me know if the music is okay now, by the way, because I brought it all the way down. It's so important for me to edit with music, otherwise I feel like I'm just way in my head. Okay, so here we are. Frequency separation, we'll hit play. There we go, it played nice and neatly this time. Good job. If you hold Z and click and drag, you can zoom in really nicely. I'm gonna start with details around my eyes. there's all these little hairs and things that are out of place that we're just gonna try to quickly attack. The flow is way too high right now. I try to edit relatively low and then build up layers. I'm also gonna try to work from like a slightly zoomed out position because there's a lot going on in this. Oh no, I did something really bad. This is actually good for you guys to see. When you are editing on these layers, very important that you sample current layer only, not current and below, because when you are editing current and below, it's affecting these layers as well, including the color. So I can actually show you that example again. If I'm editing, say for example, this hair, and I sample here and I say, okay, let's get rid of this. You see how it's like this super saturated color? That's because it's editing that color layer from below. We definitely don't want that. So Command Z, sample current layer, and let's try that again. Now it's just going to edit the detail of that layer. Much better. And there used to be a time where I would never edit my face in front of people, and now I'm editing my face for YouTube. It's just bizarre. Growth. Okay. This is a tough little cookie over there. These hairs, I'm gonna, in a regular edit, I would take a lot more care to take care of them. Last night, it took me a little while to edit them in a way that, that looked nice. We're gonna have to just do a really quick and dirty way of getting rid of them for this edit. Otherwise, this will be a 2-hour-long situation. And if that's something that you're really curious about learning, you can let me know, and then I'll plan on having a longer live. But essentially, we just want to make sure that we are keeping textures relatively where they're supposed to be. So this hair comes through this eye, and there's this crease that's really dark. So we want to make sure that that dark area, we're sampling from somewhere that's also similarly dark and painting in that. Also, same with this eyeliner. Want to make sure that that line isn't as interrupted as it should be. And that's pretty believable to me. It starts to get a little messy. And I'm gonna just quickly get rid of all this stuff now. Important to notice how in eyes you have shadows. This area right here of an eye will always remain in shadow. So if you're the type of person that edits an entire eye to be the same color, you're doing yourself no favors. Try to remain those shadows where they're supposed to be. That's pretty good. Okay, now the next side. Okay. This is when the preview tool really helps. I really just like to hover my cursor over there and just make sure that whatever is about to happen is where it's supposed to be. This is gonna be painful. Very painful to watch and do. Here we go. Smoothing out these textures just a little bit. Okay, here we go. Trying to keep the dark part up here still intact. light. This is getting into the pupil. Trying not to change the size of the pupil. Very important in your edit. It'll look very bizarre if one side has a larger pupil than the other. And really just softening out that hair detail. Now, that looks fairly believable to me. Okay, let's take care of the rest of that hair. Zoom. Oh, oops. How I clone stamp, by the way, is just many option clicks to sample and painting a little bit and then resampling. I think it's important to keep resampling, otherwise you're gonna have patterns. If you keep sampling and painting from that same area, whatever those light and shadow patterns that you're sampling from are just gonna keep repeating. So you do wanna make sure that you're constantly resampling. I add in a little bit extra makeup there. Looks like that was kind of crazy. Cool, okay. Okay. Getting rid of the rest of this guy. Also, when you're sampling skin, notice, for example, the texture right here is different than the texture up here. So if I'm sampling up here and I start painting, it's gonna be this like blurry texture. We don't want that. We want to have similar uniform textures when you're editing. Or at least I want that. I don't know what you guys want. You do you. Not telling you how to live your life, you know? Okay, let's fix these textures. Ah, okay. I think that's fairly good place. I'm just gonna smooth out detail on the skin here, and maybe up here, and up here, and now I'm onto the color layer. So the color I like to edit with a lasso tool, and we are going to, wow, there's not a lot that needs to be done here. We're gonna grab little areas that have similar skin tones that we're wanting to just make the transition a little bit more smooth. Bring this to like 16 or so. And maybe this guy. This is something that you'll kind of just start getting an eye for the more that you do. And sleeve this area too. I see the comments are getting crazy. Let me take a quick check. Oh, Jay's here. Hello, Jay Coy. Heather's here. Hello, hello. Tell me, Brady, tell me how to live. Okay, I'll tell you how to live. Keep your textures where they're supposed to be. All right, so we are going to keep blurring some skin tones over here, making them more uniform, but keeping the detail, right? Like that's a very important detail, is that even though I am blurring the skin tones, I'm keeping that detail. Ah! Also, you don't want to overlap into things because that will cause the edges of whatever the object is to blur, and we don't want that. Cool. So that's a pretty good cleanup layer, and I think we're ready for my action. So this is going to play through some things that I am going to delete probably most of, and also it stamps a visible layer right on top of that frequency separation that I'm gonna then go in and do some liquifying too, because that is a lot of fun. I'm gonna delete all these things, put these together, and bring down that opacity a lot, and also turn off this vignette. Cool, okay, time to liquify. On this stamp visible, this original layer right here, I'm gonna go filter, liquify. And this is where I was having a lot of fun yesterday. Editing these flowers. Oh my gosh, this is gonna be like real therapeutic. What I did is made a lot of them bigger, and I made this headpiece a lot bigger too. So I'm just gonna start with that. I have my little push tool right here. I'm gonna make this brush huge. Try not to have the inside of the brush near your face, otherwise you'll start to pull your face. And if that's what you're going for, then that's amazing. But otherwise, we are gonna make sure that we're pushing and that edge of that brush isn't so much onto the face. That's really just what we're going for. And just making it bigger. I realized that the bigger that this thing is, and the more defined, the more magical the photo, I think, ended up being. You can also just play with shapes and stuff too. I think that I had this thing going up a little bit more. And this guy out. These little branches, ugh. I can't believe I lucked out and got all these things for free. I miss events for this reason so much. Yeah. If I were to buy all those orchids, I don't even think that this was all of the orchids that I got for free. But if I were to buy them in New York City, oh no, way too much. Okay, so now I have the bloat tool going, and just tiny little taps in areas that I want to make the flowers bigger. And I can also definitely zoom in for this. Bloat tool. If you bloat on these little orchids that haven't yet been bloomed, they look really nice. Now, I'm not worrying too much about changing this photo so much because that's my style, right? I think a lot of people are really worried about changing the shape of things, the textures of things, and I definitely understand if it's a client portrait, I wouldn't, unless they request it, I wouldn't really go in and do a lot of this crazy retouching. But this is just an art form that I've just been loving for my whole life. With all these flowers, we're just gonna make them all bigger and probably zoom out so I can see what it's doing to the whole image. We're also gonna clean up these branches. I forgot about these little details up here. So let's see. I think the last thing I'm gonna do, even though the hair kind of worked out, I'm just gonna make it a little bit more voluminous and symmetrical too. Yep, I think that'll do. Let's preview that. Kind of a crazy transformation. I just saw a comment that looks like my face when I see Brandy's work. That's amazing. That's my favorite comment, I think. Wow. Okay, here we go. What was I gonna do? Oh yeah, I'm gonna clean up some things. I'm actually gonna Command J that layer that I was working on, zoom way in over here and start to get rid of some of these, especially these distracting elements. I'm also going to turn off my color layer because I want to use the healing brush, or the spot healing brush, because it generally does a pretty good job at removing things. We're just going to paint on it and see. Yeah, it's like cheating, almost. Let's get rid of this guy. Now I doubt it's gonna do a very good job with all this. But, oh, let's see. I guess you don't know until you try. Huh, why'd you look at that? I can work with this. I think I'm just gonna get rid of all the green. I'm glad no one suggested turning these flowers green. So that's actually one of my least favorite colors to edit with. Let's fix this lake line and make a really small brush so we don't having that really soft edge. If I were to keep that there, it would be very obvious that I edited something out. So I like to either make a really tiny brush to get rid of things or change the brush hardness. And that's probably good enough. I don't know, I feel like these guys can stay. I mean, it's obvious that I'm holding flowers. I feel like if I started to get rid of too many things, then it wouldn't look right. I'm gonna get rid of this stem, it's a little distracting. And any other distracting elements. These guys. Zoom on in. Try this again. That's perfect. Wow. If you guys aren't using the spot healing brush, I don't know what you're doing. Let's get rid of that. This is the clip that was holding these orchids in my hair. Let's get rid of that. If you really wanted to make things super, super clean, I would go through and get rid of all these random little highlights that just kind of distract a little bit. When you do this in a photo with that spot healing brush and toggle the before and after, you will be surprised at how all these little tiny details, when they're gone, really turns an image into like this masterpiece. It's just like everything is flawless. And I'll show you what I mean. Like, look at that. It just looks a lot more polished, right? If you're going for a super polished image, I definitely recommend taking your little spot healing brush and going around and trying to get rid of anything that when you look at it from far away seems a little distracting, like this. Goodbye. Cool. All right, so that is at a happy place. And there's my color grade. I think we're gonna start doing some dodge and burning. This is really exciting. This is definitely one of my favorite steps, and I think, and something I learned way too late in the game. This is, in my opinion, one of the biggest ways that, biggest impacts on when I'm editing a photo. So what I'm gonna do is take my levels, sorry, I just did that really quickly, take that midpoint, bring it up to make the overall image darker, and then throw a mask on it real quick because we don't wanna see it yet. We're gonna paint in with the white brush areas that we want more shadow. Usually that's around the face and anywhere where there's existing shadows. So in here, underneath these flowers to give more dimension, scattered in here a little bit, and see how I'm kind of just like randomly like, woo, that's how I'm doing it. Down here, we're gonna give more dimension also to the entire bottom of the frame. Sometimes I like to go, and then let's zoom in. Once again, around the face, this is like Photoshop contouring here. I want to preserve this highlight in my hair. I'm really loving it. I'm also going to try to paint around, especially these front orchids. This entire place above an eye and down through the nose. And maybe even more on the nose. This place. Great, and then also just a little darkness in the eye. Cool, so that's a first round With my editing style, I'll go through and do a couple different layers like this. I'm also maybe just gonna bring this to 75% or so opacity, just so it's not too much. And then we're gonna do the same thing with our highlights. A new level, grab your midpoint, bring it up. It's gonna bring your image, make it a lot brighter. So with your layer mask selected, Command I to invert. Grab your brush, make sure it's white, because we're gonna be painting back in those areas. And then paint in anywhere that you want more highlights. I'm also gonna bring my flow up a little bit. So with this, you obviously want to find and follow where there's already highlights, or know exactly where you want to add more. It's better to be sparing, use this sparingly, I think. Make sure your exposure is right when you're editing, and then you won't have to go through and be like, okay, my entire face needs brightening. This is definitely best served small intentional areas. So this is a little too much. Let's bring that down. And now it's very subtle, and I like that. I'm going to select both of these dodge and burn layers, throw them in a folder called dodge and burn, staying organized, and zoom out a little bit. Cool beans. Let's see. I think right now I'm going to do some fun curves adjustments actually before I bring this back into Capture One. Yesterday I was playing with curves with these flowers, and it is just a whole lot of fun. If you're not familiar with the curves tool, you should, because it's a very, very powerful tool. Something I do with a lot of my work is bring this highlights. Also, maybe a quick explanation of what's happening on this panel, right? All of this histogram is a visual, let me see if my words are gonna work today. This is a visual representation of all the pixels in your image. Because there's a huge spike on the right side, means that most of the information is in these lighter, brighter tones. And that makes sense because this is a high key image, right? This is a white background. There's not a lot of blacks in it. There's almost no blacks in it, right? You can see how it tapers off here at the end. This is the blackest black. This is the whitest white. These are all of your midtones. So what this curves panel is doing when you move it around is you're adjusting these tones in whatever way you want, right? So this represents your whitest whites. If I bring this down, then it's going to kind of crush those whites a little bit and make the overall image a little bit darker. And I like that effect in my image a lot. Sometimes I'll even throw a little point on the curve, and if you bring it up this way, then it'll also get a little bit brighter. So this is obviously way too much, but sometimes I'll bring down the whitest point of the image, but I'll adjust this curve to make the overall image a little bit brighter. And this I think adds a little bit of airiness to my work, and is just something I really, really like. This as it is a little bit too much for me. If we just toggle it a little bit, you can see how some of the details, especially the contrast areas and texture in the face is muted a little bit. And I don't mind that, but I just need it to go somewhere around 50%. And that will make me happy. Cool. We're also going to do another thing with curves, which is some fun color adjustments. So if you are on the RGB channel, it's affecting all of the colors in your image, effectively your entire image. But if you just go to the red channel, then you're signaling to Photoshop, I just want to edit the red tones of this image, right? So you can do the same. You can bring that red point, bring it all the way down. Things start to get really crazy looking the more that you do drastic changes to the RGB channels. So my approach is to always move them very subtly. So I'm talking like barely tapping and barely moving down, because that's quite a jump already. what I'm going to be editing with this curves layer is actually just the flowers too. So I'm gonna start adjusting the RGB channels of this curve layer, just looking at the flowers and the tones of the flowers, and then I'm going to actually just mask in this curves layer just to affect those flowers. So that's what's up. I know that I want them to be more blue tones, so I'm just gonna start seeing what blue tones I like. Inevitably, there's gonna be a lot of purple in here because I just can't get away from it. It's my favorite. The green channel I almost never change because it affects things very strangely, but it's always good to have a little play. You can see this is a really subtle adjustment, but it makes a huge difference, and I'll toggle that for you guys before I start masking. Definitely know I want more blues in that shadow, and maybe the opposite of blue is yellow, so when you take this and bring it down, it's gonna dump a lot of yellow into your image. But actually, I think I want more blue. Okay, let's just toggle this and see what's happening. Very slight differences. Yeah, but I like it. I'm gonna Command I that mask, and then with my white brush, make sure it's kind of a low flow because you're gonna. I'm definitely gonna have some areas where I'm painting into the hair on accident or the skin, but that's okay for me. And just painting in over these flowers, and it's just going to help them pop a little bit. And you can do all sorts of things too. You can even have this be on like a darken layer or an overlay layer. Just creative possibilities with blending modes over here are endless and exciting. I'm looking at this image and I'm thinking I already know I want to have a lot more shadow definition. The flowers are so contrasty, and I keep toying with, do I want my skin to also be as contrasty to match, or do I like this soft pastel with the flowers to be the really like prominent feature? And I think just a little bit more definition in the shadows on my skin would help. So here we go. Even. Cool. Yeah, that's at a great place. I'm gonna toggle the original layer, which will show us all the work we've done so far, and I bet it's gonna blow your mind. Also, I just realized I never fixed this in Liquify too, so I'm gonna take that top visible stamp layer, Liquify, and push that down a little bit with my tool here. Easy. Now we have a straight line, no roller coasters here. A little bit of tone issues going on back there, but you know, I think this works for now. Shoop. Okay, well now I'm gonna toggle it. So I'm gonna hold down Option and click this little eyeball, and that is everything we've done so far, which is kind of insane. Crazy. I'm gonna Command S, save, and probably put this back into Capture One to do more color toning. I love color toning in Capture One. It's so it's just a lot more fun for me right now. I can play. I do like to play with the infinite color panel a lot, just to get a lot of inspiration. Like, okay, I hit this once, and suddenly all these colors I'm into. Oh, phone call. Oh my God. Why? No, no, please. Okay, let's see. But that's actually a lot. So what I would do is bring that all the way down. Do I want it to be teal? I'm not sure. Or I'll play with some of these actions too. And I know that there's one called Winter somewhere that I really like. Here we are. Way down. Yeah, I think that will do. Something else that I also might do is add a little bit of grain, especially to these images from my archive when I wasn't using a background that had any texture. There's just not a lot going on this white wall, and it adds a little bit of something, you know. Also, I don't necessarily hate what it does to the skin. These files aren't the sharpest. And actually, now that I'm zoomed in, I might add a little bit more sharpening. So what I'm going to do is copy my topmost stamped layer, go to Filter, Other. There's so many ways to sharpen, by the way. This is just one that I've started doing out of habit. It might not be the best way. We're going to add a high pass filter at about 28 and put it to overlay. This is going to make your image look way HDR sharp, but what you're going to do is bring down the overall opacity, throw a layer mask on it, and only paint in areas with a very low flow brush that need a little bit extra. See, that's a lot. So we're going to bring down this opacity and also the flow of the brush. Perfect. That will do the trick. Also, these flowers seem a little hazy to me, so I'm gonna cover those in the hair. I suppose if my face and the flowers are both in focus, then everything should kind of be in focus. And I'll toggle that for you to see if you can. This is also one of those steps that unfortunately once you post to Instagram, it's like clarity goes out the window, especially in details when you're seeing it from pulled back way back here. Yeah, so this is a really good first pass through Photoshop. I'm gonna save it, throw it in Capture One, and look at y'all's questions. What is going on here in the chat? Kelly's gonna call me on the next live stream. It was my iPad. My iPad never talks to me, but suddenly somebody calls and they got through, you know? They're definitely still green, just less green. Too funny. Man, I love that you guys are having little conversations in here. Cool. Great news. What? Oh yeah, got distracted. Cool beans. Okay, let's close out of this. Find it in Photoshop and toggle through this before and after, because that was kind of crazy. Isn't that? I don't know. I just get obsessed with this. Also, why is everything 5 stars? This is not good. Oh, what have I done? I see what I did. Never mind. You can stay 5 stars. Okay. I'm gonna clone variant again because I'm a crazy person. I just like to have a million different things going on. And the first thing I'm gonna do here is probably go to my styles I've made before and just quickly flag through and see if there are any tones that I'm liking. Something I also like to do is keep an eye on the small version here and what's happening to the colors, because seeing things from far away or really small, I think helps me make decisions in color toning. Once I see it really big on my computer, I forget that a lot of people are seeing it really small. So sometimes I'm just looking at this one only. Everything here is quite a lot, but I'm wondering if I can just bring down the opacity and have it be just a hint. Yep, okay, let's do that. It's the Emily and Brandy preset we made. Oh, very cute. Uh-oh, what have I done? So actually, if you just click it, it'll apply to that background layer. So we want to right click and say apply to new layer, because then we can adjust opacity, which is my MO, you know? We're gonna do a new filled layer, go back to our color, and maybe let's just do a master global color balance here. I'm just gonna take this middle point and circle it around and see what our options are. Again, looking at that small guy over here. Definitely thinking more reds. And this is a fun before and after slider too for me to see if something is working. And I think that's good. One more filled layer. And now I'm gonna go three-way. This is my favorite color balancing tools because it separates it into the shadows, midtones, and highlights, so you can really fine-tune your color. This is all personal preference, and it changes all the time. Clearly, I edited this photo last night in a totally different way, and we're just always going to get different results. And that's kind of fun. Well, that's definitely blue. It's also doing a lot. Yep, okay, I like it. So this is where we were. Before, after, color toning in Capture One. So you're asking why I like Capture One, and it's for things like this. This is everything for my creativity. Okay, so I'm gonna select this once more and throw it again in Photoshop and do some last minute things, but this is pretty much done. So I'm at the point where I'm gonna tell you all in the comments. If you have any questions, now's the time, because we'll be wrapping up here soon. Yeah, it's crazy how fast these things go. I'm also, because in 2017 and 2018, I used to add a texture layer that was this like chalkboard that I had a photo of. So I'm gonna maybe see, I think that it will do well here. So let's find where everything is. There you are. And what we're gonna do with this texture is set it to multiply. So it's adding kind of like a more randomized grain, and I like that a lot. This is definitely like throwing me back to the old times. I'm gonna get my brush, make sure it's black on a layer mask, and just paint over my skin, because I don't really want that to affect my skin much. It's okay if it does a little bit. I mean, this is definitely more of a fine art image, so not too worried. Make this flow a little bit more. And before, after, just has a little bit more character in the background. I think, why not run my action one more time for color? Sometimes it does some interesting things, and sometimes it's just way too much. Once it's playing, I always kind of freak out, like, oh no, that looks terrible. And it finishes, and I'm like, yes. Let's delete these layers. Having a real hard time selecting them all. And get rid of the, maybe actually we'll just bring down this vignette a lot and this contrast a lot. Throw it in a folder, before, after. Yes, it adds a lot of yellow. But I don't actually mind. Definitely an homage to 2017 editing. And I might try another curves for the blues. Maybe I'll just bring blue up. Bring red. And invert that, paint on the flowers again. I think the more you play, the more you'll find that all these different things just are really fun tools to keep playing with and expanding upon. I know that my editing only gets better the more time I spend playing, right? Like, grateful that, you know, self-portraiture is my jam, because it's really helped me, you know, hone my skills in photography and editing. Because although I can edit photos of other people like this, I feel a lot more safe when it's like my face I'm photoshopping, you know? Okay guys, this is actually at a really, really nice place. Yeah, I could definitely add more contouring in faces here, but I don't really mind what's happening. In one version, I took the corners of my eyes and the eyelashes and extended them out a little bit, because this is obviously a very China doll-esque edit. I guess I can do that and show you how I would before we wrap up. But yeah, again, if there are any other questions, I guess I better check if there are questions. It's interesting with the warm background. Yeah, I agree. I think like the yellows warms and with the blue is a good situation happening. I'm gonna take this and zoom way in a little bit too much. A handful, and wow, really close. Okay, so with our little tiny brush, we're gonna, this is very much for like the fine art editor, okay? Adjusting faces and stuff is, you know, a lot of people have a problem with this, but I think it's kind of fun. So just taking the corners of the eyelashes and just extending them a little bit, and again, not hitting that side. And then let me zoom out and toggle before and after. A little bit goes a long way, right? It's just subtle, but it creates more of a cat eye. Yeah, guys, I think that this is it. I really hope you liked this. Let me go into Capture One, show you the edit from last night, the edit from 2017, and the edit from right now. It's gonna be crazy. Get out of here. Okay, where are we? This is today. This is 2017. And this is the raw. Crazy. Let me get rid of my toolbars here. Yeah, so I can, also looking at these all side by side, it's really interesting. I think in my edit last night, I added a little bit more texture to the face, a little bit more contouring, that made it overall a little bit darker. Also, let me see, actually, I can probably, just with my levels, bring this to a happier place. Yeah. A little too much clarity, actually. Yeah, I think that looks great, guys. So yeah, I hope you guys learned something. I hope you enjoyed this. It's always so fun to go back and re-edit past work. I was just thinking so much about the growth that has happened in these past few years and just totally blown away. So if you are not going back and re-editing your old work, I think you're doing yourself a disservice. There's something really cool about seeing these all up, and I'm sure you'll notice too, of just noticing how your editing has changed, how your editing style has changed, how your photography has changed. It's a really good, fun exercise. If you guys have any other photos that you'd like to see me go through and edit of, please let me know. If you have any questions, please let me know. I really hope you enjoyed this. If you haven't already, please